absolutely terrific to be able to put a face to the name, so to speak. We have a mutual friend who put us in touch with one another, and the stories that he tells me about your experiences are absolutely terrific. But before we get into that, I really want to talk more about this idea of having custom-made suits done, because this is something that I've always been really interested in. I think it's absolutely amazing that people can do that type of high-quality handcrafted work. And as much as I would like to participate in your upcoming event, I know I'm not going to be able to, but nevertheless, can you tell, like, how do you find a tailor overseas to come over here and produce something of magnificent quality? I don't understand it.
So we always plan one big major trip every year with my wife. And of course, we love Thailand because of the service. I think we looked at each other and we said, my God, the service in Thailand, it goes out of control. I mean, you're looking at 5-star hotels that you're paying the price of a Holiday Inn here. So, and the quality service is out of control. I mean, it's just, they have all the materials that you need. So when I go there once a year, I usually go to a tailor. His name is VJ. And he actually customized me a sports jacket. And he of course, you can pick from the silver material to the gold material, to the platinum material, to all the type of materials. He'll talk to you about what type of buttons to put on it and where the buttons came from. It's just an amazing experience. So what happened is I put a nice suit on. Of course, I got my sports jacket too. I brought it here. My buddies were starting saying, hey, where did you get that sports suit? I mean, where did you get that jacket? It's beautiful. The material is fantastic when I touch it. And I told them, and I said, would you guys are willing to come over to my place and I can make the guy fly from Bangkok to Washington, D.C. and get you guys all fitted? And the guys, absolutely. So I decided to do that for the first time. And my tailor from Bangkok will fly to Herndon, Virginia, believe it or not. And it's going to do all the fittings. And you need to show up too, because it's once in a lifetime.
I believe you. I'm curious though, like, what, in your estimation, what is the biggest difference in quality between something that you have handmade and custom produced versus something that's mass produced?
Well, the quality is there. The quality. So if you want the material to be platinum or gold, that's the quality you're getting. And of course, you can feel it in the texture, how heavy it is, how nice it is. You can feel it in the buttons. And also you can actually choose the type of buttons that you want it to be, that type, or it's got so many types of buttons. Of course, I'm not a tailor. So,
right.
But he actually he'll talk to you through them. And of course, price-wise, it's actually pretty affordable to be able to.
That's the amazing part to me. Right? Like how, because one of the dynamics that I want to get into with you a little bit is this idea that production costs for things that are made in the United States are astronomically higher than they are in other parts of the world. And yet the quality seems to not be on par with one another. And so when we think about the idea that someone can run a profitable business in a country like Thailand, where they are making custom made garments, it's fascinating to me that they're able to do that and do well. What do you have any insight into the dynamics that would allow that to happen?
It comes down to money at the end of the story. Basically, it's the labor in Bangkok. Of course, they don't get $15 and $20 an hour. Okay. And that's actually what it comes down to. And of course, to be able to make it, they also do trips like this one, like the one that's coming now. So he flies down here and gets more money out of it. At least once a year, it will come to you or, several places in the United States to do it. And that actually helps the business stay alive. Because, sometimes when you go abroad, you look at how other people live as well. Cambodia, for instance, it's a very poor country and everything's run by the government, all of it. They don't actually own land, if you believe it or not. So they actually put huts up, just huts, tents, plastic, whatever they can find, and create a little hut to be able to sell food or little things that they actually can make, or anything they can. But if the government comes and tells them, get out of here now, they have to pack and leave. Of course, they don't actually have that big taxation either, because the government has to go and follow them. So, because everything is cash thrown. And the money is not worth anything. I mean, I remember I went to Cambodia, and my wife and I were there for the second day, and the government came up and on the TV, and I said, you know what? We are not going to actually have two-party lines anymore. We are dictatorship. And that's how it's going to be. And if you guys want to demonstrate about that, you have to go to this particular square only and demonstrate your that you don't want it. Nobody went to that square because what happens is all the police actually take pictures of who's going to go in that square. So they don't want to deal with it. And they smile. They keep smiling. They don't have nothing, but they keep smiling because they tell them, if the tourist comes to you, you better smile, or otherwise you'll actually have a few problems with us. So they're trying to smile to be able to be happy. Thailand is actually in a better condition though, but in a much more stronger economically. They're strong economically. So, and that's why you see the United States go to Southeast Asia to get all our products. I mean, China, for instance, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, all these places. And if you think of what actually every place of what I'm saying has in common, is socialism, communism. That's what they were. I mean, China is communist, Cambodia is a communist, Laos, Vietnam is communist. And the people live exactly what the word means, communist, socialism. And that's why, because you have to survive for yourself, because the government at that point, when it takes over a socialism, communism, they will not give you the help you need. They stop with giving you grants or giving you, a retirement plan. Or no, you're going to be working until you die. That's how it is. And unfortunately, people here in the United States, they don't travel much. And if they do, they might go to Southeast Asia, and then they'll see all the scorpions that they have to eat and all the snakes on the stick that they have to eat and all the cockroaches that they have to eat. And they say, oh my God, how could they? How could they? Have you ever tried to starve yourself for just 5 days?
No, I haven't. 3 days is the most I ever made it.
5 days or a week. I mean, you can drink as much water as you want. Somehow you can do it. But if you starve yourself for a whole week, everything's going to start looking tasty. Now, the generation that came to Cambodia didn't come overnight. It came slowly. So when Pol Pot was killed almost 2.5 million of his own people in less than 2 years, when he came in power, he starved his people. We all know that. So people were actually eating anything that was crawling. They taught it to the kids. The kids taught it to the other kids. The kids, and even today, if you go to Cambodia, you still see they're still eating those things. Spiders, cockroaches, snakes, all the type of food that for us we think is disgusting, for them it's delicacy. So why? Because they got used to it. So from the past, and of course, was given to their kids, and then their kids, and so on, and so on.
And they don't know any better, right? They've never experienced anything different.
It's how it is. My mom actually taught me how to eat a spider, and that's how you eat it. And of course,
how do you eat a spider exactly?
To be honest with you, they fry them. The whole thing, and I just eat it. And I watched it. Of course, I never tried it. I've tried other things in my life, but not that. I've tried
what? What's the weirdest thing you've ever tried?
Well, I've tried silkworms, like woodworms. I've tried little grasshoppers. Tried. They look like chips. I've tried a few things. I've tried horse meat. I've tried elephant meat. I've tried a lot of weird stuff in my life.
Was any of it any good?
Actually, it depends. If they don't tell you, it's like potato chips. When I was eating it, I was in China. I was eating this little yellow bowl that came across, and I was having a beer, and I was just snacking it down, and it tasted like chips. And the guy says, "Oh, you're eating this little bugs. And I said, what are you talking about? And then I look at them, oh, they had legs in them. And I thought, oh, interesting.
I do not think the American population is ready for that.
I know you went down good with a cold beer. But anyway, but my background, I've traveled all the world. Actually, I have so many passports. I wish I could show you. I mean, I have a whole stack of them. And I was 8 years old when I started traveling. And of course, maybe I need to show you this because it's important on this conversation.
Oh, you should. I mean, someone who has traveled
it's
as
important in this
extensively as you
conversation
have.
because I like to show you.
Absolutely.
This is actually a Greek passport. If you read close to it, it says the Republic on top.
Mm-hmm.
Republic. Can you see it? Republic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When Greece was a republic, we were a strong country. And here's how the proof is. It's blue, but you can see it. And here's another one. And now this one, you can see it closely. It's a republic.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Here's another one. You'll see it closely. It's a republic. Now, going forward, here's the first one that came out. Burgundy. It doesn't actually have the word republic anymore on it. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the second one. It says Greek democracy. They took out the republic and they put democracy on it. Here's another one.
It's interesting.
Greek democracy. So now you might say to yourself, okay, Harry, talk to us about this. What is the difference about what Greece used to be and what Greece became? Well, this was a republic and this is democratic socialism. In 1981, when Papandreou became president, the PASOK, this is what we got. This is 1991 passport. And of course, it's continuing today. I don't use any of those passports, of course, because I have my American passport. But I want to show you the difference of what was Greece once and what it became. So, of course, we all know about Greece and what happened to it. People.
Why don't, just for some of the people that don't know, why don't you give like a quick summary of what happened?
Well, people in Greece, again, it's a way of life. If you're going to be poor all your life, you're going to be poor all your life. It just doesn't really matter. That you pass it on to your kids. So it doesn't matter what we were before. It doesn't really matter. That's gone. It's like spilled milk. It's done. It's all gone. Now what we do. So of course, people that were trying to work for Greece, the government came in and said, you know what? You don't need to work as hard. We'll take care of you. Just stay home, be with your families, and we'll take care of you. And they started doing that. And slowly they got used to it. Okay? If you want to be an entrepreneur in Greece, it's a very big challenge because you can't. Because you cannot put all that effort, you get nothing out of it. So why waste your time? It doesn't make sense to be an entrepreneur in Greece. It just doesn't. And a lot of people actually open coffee shops. If you go to Greece, number one thing that Greeks open is coffee shops and, tavernas. They're very focused on food and coffee because there's nothing else to think about or to try to create. When Greece in 1991, Papandreou took over, he came out and started blaming the rich, started blaming the factories, started blaming everything. And he was telling him, if you vote for me, I'll go into the factory, I'll get you a better raise because, your wages is slow. So he got voted in. And from 91 until 2000, so 1997, most factories left Greece. So all those people that they used to work for the factories, they didn't get any big raise, actually got unemployment. But what Papandreou did instead, it was a brilliant thing. He said, I'm going to hire all these people. So he gave them jobs in the government. Street cleaners, people who clean offices. So we created a country that's only 9 million people. You had almost 2.5 million government workers for 9 million people. So what he said is, I'm going to make sure that each election that we go through, we're always going to win. Because we already bring in almost 2.5 million to 3 million votes out of 9.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always going to get ahead. And also, their family members will vote for us because we're taking care of that family member.
Mm-hmm.
So now we actually also can bring up to 4 million or 5 million votes. Who knows? But he kept it strong. And of course, we have the free hospitals. But if you see how free they are, you won't even want to go near them because of the cleanliness or
sure
the way they keep the patients in dorms, like 12 people in a dorm. The smell, it's just an amazing thing. Actually, I took our friend Tim to Greece, and I drove him downtown Athens, and Tim was actually shocked. He says, "Harry, what is going on here? All this graffiti on the wall." I said, "We have democracy. We can do whatever you want. You can do anything you want. You can kill somebody, and you still don't get time in jail. You can kill someone in Greece, and you might get 5 years to 10 years, and that's it. You're out." And actually, the jails,
why do you think people,
they open. So let's say if your kid kills someone, all right? I'm just saying, somebody's kid kills someone. They'll put that kid in jail, but he wants to go study, let's say, to become an architect. The government will give him a scooter. He'll come out of the jail prison, he'll go to the university, and then come back to his jail prison cell. So every day, he can go out and go and get educated. And we've done it so many times. And the truth of the matter is because it's socialist democratic system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can get away with anything. It doesn't really matter. So if you want graffiti, you don't actually have someone to tell you, you know, you're not supposed to do that on someone's building, on someone's house. Now the graffiti in everybody's doorstep and on your house outside. You know, they can come and graffiti on your garage door without anyone to get blamed for.
Well, it's interesting, you know, because when you look at, you know, the way the human mind works, when you remove consequences from the equation, it's always fascinating to see what happens to a society when there's no longer a cost for poor behavior or for destruction or for murder. You know, these things, they're very real scenarios in a lot of different countries, but not here in the United States. And that's one of the reasons that I thought that your story was so important, is because to boil everything down to brass tacks, it would seem that the words democracy and republic have become largely interchangeable in the American vernacular. And that's a real problem, don't you think? Because we're talking about two very different words that have two very different outcomes when you apply them to the problem of governance, right? At the end of the day, you know, if you are part of the People's Republic of whatever, you do not have the same freedoms that you do within a government infrastructure like we have in the United States. Would you agree?
Yes. And also, like I wanted to tell your audience too, that when I was really young, about 8 years old, we moved to Africa as well. So I grew up in Rhodesia. It used to be called Rhodesia, Salisbury, Rhodesia. I went to Prince Edward High School for boys there. In 1980, Robert Mugabe, the communist socialist, took over the country. I'm not going to go into details of what happened to that country. You can actually, people can Google it, go to Zimbabwe ruins, and see what happened to Zimbabwe. But it's a sad story because right now Zimbabwe, life expectancy, it's only 45 to 50 years of age. The city is gone down in a hellbasket. I mean, they actually don't even have sidewalks anymore. The sidewalk and the roads is actually almost the same because they never kept it up. Currency, actually, they don't actually have currency. Right now, China owns Zimbabwe. And I think they're running with the Chinese currency. So I was there for 10 years. And then, of course, unfortunately, I came to Greece to be greeted by Greece with Andrea Papadreou in 1981. And of course, I told my father, I don't think I used to actually have a nice coffee shop. And I was doing really well. But of course, I had a lot of people against me. I was too young to be making so much money. You had the government coming every other week to pick up their check. Your employees actually had more power than you, the owner. So if I fired my employee or tell him he couldn't work, I had to pay him a 6-month severance. And that's actually in 82, 84, 83 through 86. So, of course, I've been to the military. I've done that, my part. I've done a lot of work. I was with communications, with the naval communications when I first got to Greece in 1981. I started with that first. But I've done a lot of work to get where I am today. I mean, I threw anything at the wall to make anything stick. And what I found out is when I came to the United States, of course, I came in as an immigrant in 89, but I had to go back to Greece and put all my paperwork together to come legally in this country. So yes, I came as a visitor. I loved what I saw, but I had to do all the other necessary paperwork, and it takes almost 10 years for me to obtain an American passport. 10 years. And now what pisses me off is actually people are saying it's taking too long. It's taking too long, and they're getting it in 2 years. They get an American passport. You come to the United States, you get an American passport in 2 to 3 years. And I'm thinking it took me 10. And of course, I had to go through interviews, through background checks, through American history, through all the process that you had to do from the beginning. First, you come to the United States, permanent. I came in 91. I got a green card. The green card actually has a 2-year expiration run. If you're good in 2 years, you haven't done anything, you haven't broken a law, you can stay. And then they'll issue you a normal one without an expiration date. You have a 2-year probation, it's called. And when people say probation, why do they keep putting people probation? Well, because that's how we do it, You get a 2-year probation, see if this person is good. And everybody thinks this is somehow racist and stuff. No, it's not. I mean, I didn't see it as racist when I came here, and I came here.
Right.
I didn't see it. This is how the country is. I'm going to behave. I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to pay taxes. I'm going to love the United States. No matter what. This is why I'm here. Because the United States is giving me a chance, And I really
the United States passport is one of the most powerful passports in the world, is it not?
It is. But remember, I want to show you again, and to your audience, remember the Greek passport? Now it's the United States passport. What I'm fearing, don't make the American passport this color. So that's what I'm fearing. So other than that, and of course, I did what I had to do. I came here, I worked, I did all the jobs. I was part-time waiter in every hotel, running around the circles, whoever wanted me, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, coffee breaks, events, anywhere. I was working 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day. I didn't have time to think who's running for president, who political things. I was actually thinking, How do I keep a roof over my head? Because I came from different situations. So when people tell me, they're trying to push socialism with me, I said, you know what? I've seen the movie twice already. Do you want me to tell me again? To tell me the preview? Because I already seen
the movie. We need to. We need to, right? I mean, I think that was one of the big motivations for us getting together to talk today was the idea that we have a significant portion of Americans that kind of fall into two categories simultaneously. One, they have an underdeveloped appreciation of the freedoms we have in a general sense in the United States, but they also have a lack of understanding of what's happening in other parts of the world and what reality looks like when you adopt some of the policies that are currently being thrown around as if they're no big deal in Congress right now. And it's a really scary proposition for us to end up in a situation like Greece is. And so I think it's important to describe in as much detail as we can what is the reality of Greece, particularly as it relates to infrastructure ownership. The story of which countries own what infrastructure in Greece is fascinating to me, and nobody knows about it. Can you talk a little bit more about it?
Sure. People, listen, I'm Greek, and I hate to because actually some Greeks telling me, why you tell these things about Greece? Aren't you proud of your country? I said, I am proud of my country. I just don't want to pull other people in the quicksand. You know, when you actually stepping on quicksand, you tell people, stop, don't come here. It's quicksand here. We're already stuck. Don't come here. No, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to tell the truth. You know, Greece was defaulted many times with their loans, many times. And of course, the biggest supporter of Greece is Germany, because Germany is the one, and of course, France are the ones who keep giving the loans. And of course, the United States gives the loans as well. Everybody gives loans. Because once you get used to taking, you just keep receiving. It's like, you know, if you keep on feeding birds outside, they'll keep on coming to your deck. Okay, they will not stop. And then when you stop, they'll start saying why this happened. They won't know where to go. Okay, so Greece right now is actually not owned by Greece or Greeks. I mean, let's start with the new airport. Eleftherio Venizelos actually is owned by Germany by 99 years. So everybody that comes there, yes, the Greeks workers, all Greeks that actually do the background and everything else at the airport, you know, coffee shops and everything, but they all pay taxes to the Germans. All that money that comes through here, Greece airport, it goes to Germany. And they actually did a deal for 99 years that goes there. Also, the Germans own the highway system, all the tolls for 99 years. They also own the archaeological museums. You know, if you go to the Acropolis, if you go to, they actually own that part. Some of that part, because the Germans actually created the new museum in Athens. So they own that part too. They own the metro. The metro, the beautiful metro that you go and take pictures, it's actually was owned by the Germans. They own the buses, any type of transportation they own. China owns the ports of Greece. They actually have some marbles and olives, some they owe it to for 99 years. The Italians, I think, own the railroad stations. And I think Germany actually owes another 30 or 40 little airports around the islands, too. So can you imagine if the United States actually had to give the rights to a country other than the United States, their highway system for 100 years?
Right. But what causes a country to give away their infrastructure like that? Now, based on the conversation we had previously, my understanding was it was more debt forgiveness than a trade of value. Is that accurate? Or so in other words, Greece got themselves in trouble with the governments of each of these countries?
Yeah, it's not such a thing as debt forgiveness. Nobody will actually give you debt forgiveness. And they'll just give you, you owe us, so give me your basement for 99 years. And then if you don't pay, give us your second floor for 99 years. And if you don't pay, you give us your third floor for 99 years. And then they'll just keep on taking until they have the whole house.
Why 99 years?
I don't know.
That number seems to come up quite a bit.
It's an interesting theory, but they agreed 99 years, and that's what they signed. But because they defaulted once, they defaulted again. Okay, how can we close this gap? Maybe you can take some of the money from here. Maybe you can take some of the money from there. I mean, right now, if you ever went to Google and you say Greek islands for sale, the first thing that will come up, it's a Greek islands for sale. You can buy your own island for $1 million, $5 million. You can actually you can name it anything you want. So what I'm trying to tell you is Greece actually, yes, it's a beautiful country. I mean, I always tell people go. I mean, you will not see the beautiful beaches and the people, fantastic, the food, everything is great. But what kills me is we have actually just sold the whole country away. We just sold it. And
what was the major point in history that caused this problem? Was there a singular point, or was it a compounding one bad decision after another type circumstance?
So when Papandreou actually started getting loans, Papandreou was a socialist government of Greece. He really got loans to maintain all those 2.5 million government workers happy. But they didn't have to work anything. I mean, I remember stories saying to me that some of the government workers used to actually go and clock in government office, leave from that office, and go and work somewhere else so they can get 2 paychecks. Or they used to actually say, hey, Doug, are you going in today? Yeah. Hey, can you clock me in? And I'll clock you on Thursday. And they used to do that. Also, they start avoiding paying taxation. Of course, I'll stop avoiding taxation. If I had to pay like 25% and 50%, I'll say, why will I pay so much money? I mean, right now, so you used to go and say, okay, how much is this jacket? The guy will say, okay, I'll give it to you for 100 euros, but you have to wear it outside when you leave the store without a receipt. Okay, so you say, yeah, usually it's 150 euros. I'll give it to you for 100, but you have to wear it walking out. And you say to yourself, okay. So you wear the jacket and you acted like it wasn't you anymore. So people started doing that. Oh, shoes. How much you want for the shoes? Oh, it's going to be 40 euros, but if you buy it without a receipt, I'll give it to you for 35. And of course, people start coming. Yeah, they'll do it. I mean, who wouldn't, right? If you actually were living with 500 euros a month salary,
sure,
or 750 euros, you'll say, yeah, every €5 counts. So I don't blame them.
So what percentage of Greek business do you think is done under the table?
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. They're still actually doing it. I mean, oh, my God. Actually, the government sometimes shuts them down because they find a lot of frauds. And then you see the building all shut down with tapes and everything. And then about 6 months later, they reopen with a different name. So, well, yeah, everybody does it. I mean, of course,
when was the last time do you think Greece had a stable economy? Like, what year was it?
I think after the 70s, I believe 70s, actually had a good economy, a very strong one. 80s actually was just
the reason I ask.
Yeah, 80s. But
okay.
81, when Papandreou came, we still actually had a good, strong economy because not everybody was, all over the place. But here's the thing. Socialists will always tell you, I'll fix your problem. But Papandreou kept on saying that. So while he closed all the factories of Greece and then moved out of the country because they can go to Albania for cheaper, or they can go to Romania for cheaper, or they can go to Yugoslavia for cheaper, okay? And that's what they did. Then they actually had nothing else to say. So what they said is, if you tell me who actually has, they started going after the rich people. So who actually has a big house? Who has a pool? Because if your neighbor actually has a bigger pool, let me know, and I will tax him more than you that you live next to him. So they were going after the pools. I remember they actually put drones to take pictures so they can tax. So most of the people, because they could not afford a pool, covered it up. But in the same time, those people who made those pools were not, they never had a license to do so. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Because the license was more expensive to make a pool. So they used to do the construction overnight. And so some people actually paid the fines and paid the fees, and it kept them. Some people just bulldoze more sand over it and cover it all up again. But I'm just trying to tell you.
In those cases, a license is just a tax anyways, right?
Yeah. So now in Greece.
So it's just another tax.
Yeah. So now in Greece, Greece is really trying hard, very hard in the past several years to be able to fix its problems. And now finally, now we actually have property taxes in Greece that just came out now. And now they want us to measure the exactly meters of feet of our houses, exactly how far is our balconies. And finally, I would agree back and forth and trying to fix this. And I'm fixing them because they're trying really hard to become a Western society civilization that everything that you see, it's actually what it is. Because in the old days, what they used to do is build whatever they wanted and then claim it was a little hut. Well, it was a big house. So they claimed a little hut and they built a big house, with a big yard. And you look at the blueprints and you say, which house are we talking about? And they say, this one. This is not this. It's totally different houses. So now Greece started trying to get back into normals. But I was having here a couple of Cambodia money, and I wanted to show you this to your audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a couple of 500s and 1000s and 900s. All this here combined, so nice and crisp, huh? This came out of the printing machine.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we're not supposed to print money. All this combined, it's about 30 cents. But hey, they got a nice picture of whoever this is, really nice.
Yeah, that guy right there.
Great, yeah. So, yep. I mean, it cost them more to print that crap than to actually have a currency. So this is why every time I hear the United States actually getting more and more money out in the market and stuff, I'm saying the printing machines need to stop because you know what? Your $20 bill will become eventually your $1 bill.
That's the primary driver behind the inflation we're experiencing right now, right? I mean, yes. That when we injected $4 trillion worth of currency detached from any value into the economy over COVID. And, we have government officials that are trying to blame dynamics other than that decision for the consequences, right? And it's absurd that anybody is actually buying that narrative. We know precisely why we're paying more for a loaf of bread today than we were 2 years ago. That's the reason. There is no other reason than that. Absolutely staggering to me. The other thing that I thought was interesting just about the conversation we had the other day was this idea that motivation for production, for being a productive citizen, has all been wiped out. Not just in Greece, but in pretty much every socialist country that does it. Because from my perspective, there are multiple ways to frame up what socialism will look like, but they all end the exact same way. And I think the biggest challenge is you completely demotivate a society long enough, and it's catastrophic. And we've experienced quite a bit of that over COVID, right? Because you had a lot of people that kind of got used to not working, right? There were rules and laws that were put in place that would allow them to be minimally productive. But that's a dynamic that a lot of countries, that's the status quo for them. And it's fascinating to me that nobody seems to understand that we are not that far away. I mean, we talked about it, you and I, we're not that far away from that reality.
Like I told you, Doug, I'm watching this movie third time in my experiences. I mean, I was in Zimbabwe for 10 years. I was in Europe for 18 years, and I've been in this wonderful country for 31 years. And I'll tell you one thing, about all these three countries, the only country that actually gave me an opportunity to get ahead of myself, because I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. We were poor. We were middle class, you can say, type of family. It was the United States. And I actually had my success for the past 12 years. And every immigrant, when they come here, you can tell them anything. They'll keep their heads down. They'll do their jobs. They're not here for political reasons. They're just here to try to see if they can get some money, try to get ahead of the game, because the countries that came from that did not give them the opportunities that this country's given. And watching this country, that also I was with the Virginia National Guard as well, and I spent times with it helping people, and I realized that this country needs to stay where it is. It's the last light of beacon around the world. It's like, I always talk about Greece. Greece used to be the light beacon of the world because, of course, the birthplace of Demokratia. It's called Demokratia. And actually a lot of...
And what is that?
Demokratia is democracy. But Demokratia was actually for the Greeks at that time I was born. Demos, Demokratia, the word, it's actually in two syllables. It's cut in two. And it's actually one when you say it, Demokratia. It's actually demos. Demos means counties. Demotes means the people that live in the counties, the people, demotes.
Mm-hmm.
So in the old days, demotes, the people that live in the counties of Greece, voted for the mayor on that county. Okay? And then the mayors got together and voted for the leader. So demos means demotes, kratos means state, country, kratos, demokratia, okay? So demos, the people that lived in the counties, demotes, voted for that person who actually takes care of that county. The counties got together, of those elected, voted for the leader of the country. And that's how it used to be, Demokratia. But now Demokratia has been used everywhere. And I think is losing its actual value. If you see North Korea, it's called themselves the democratic peoples of Republic,
sure.
The democratic peoples of North Korea. And, you see Iran uses it. You see Syria. You see so many other countries that they're not even supposed to have that word used. And you see people that actually do harm things to people still using democracy. And everything that they want to make you afraid of is going to say the first thing is our democracy is in stake. What is that? What is democracy? If you ask them to break it down, they wouldn't know what that means. You see, that's why I always said Demokratia was meant for the Greeks. It wasn't meant for the whole world. But of course, the world adopted it and took it on it because most of the elections, that's why the parliaments look a bit Greek, because it comes from that. Of course, we used to vote in the old ancient Greece, we used to vote with stones. A black stone was no, and a white stone was yes. So we used to put it in big pots, and then we used to empty the pot, and then you used to count how many black stones, how many white stones, and that's how we elected our leaders in those days. And I don't know if you guys knew about Demokratia, what that really means, but I hope I can educate your viewers as well about that. So anyway, I
love it. I think it's important to understand.
Yeah, I think Demokratia has lost the value meaning because right now, if people don't know, the freedom that we have here, it's amazing. Amazing. I mean, I can go all over the world and come back. And when I come to the United States, it's like I'm home. It's like, God help me. I mean, if we lose these beautiful things, and when I hear AOC and all these people telling me that they want to do this, and these ideas are crazy. Because the people who are going to get affected first is actually the poor. The poor.
Oh, sure.
The poor people in this country will be the first ones to actually face that big thing. Because in Greece, we used to actually have 3 levels too. Now it used to be the rich, it used to be the middle class, and the poor. Now it's the rich went to the middle class, the middle class went to the poor. So we lost something somewhere. We lost a whole tier.
The upper class went to China, is what it sounded like to me, at least.
Yeah. I mean, and even in China, I mean, look at China. I mean, China does. I went to China in 2001, actually. in December of 2001. I went to Beijing, Shanghai, and I went to China again in 2014, I believe. I went to Hong Kong. And you'll see the difference on the people, how the people act, because they don't get paid a lot. People don't get paid a lot. So anyway, Doug, I think the United States actually is a great country. I do believe in dear in my heart that if it wasn't for the United States, I would not be in the situation where I am today.
I listen. I mean, I don't know anyone that looks at the United States as being a problem today. The challenge that we face, and this is something I would like to get your thoughts on. The challenge is, how do we preserve the freedoms we have when there's this looming threat of policy-driven deterioration and erosion of our core freedoms? I mean, one of the biggest things that makes me nervous is anytime someone wants to propose a constitutional amendment, right? That is supposed to be something that is exceedingly difficult to do. And yet, almost every cycle, we have a slate of politicians that are trying to enact different rules and regulations to make whatever it is they want to get done easier to get done. But that is a double-edged sword. And so the reason I wanted to frame it up that way is because, from your perspective, what do you think the single biggest threat to our freedoms is?
Well, the biggest threat is if anybody, and I don't care who's going to be, destroys the Constitution of the United States, or tries to mess it up, or try to take things out of it, or try to put things into it. The Constitution of the United States, for me, it's actually brilliant. The people who came up with that they were like had actually like a silver ball, knowing what's going to come. If we touch that, if we actually even think of touching that, we lost all hope in the United States. The Constitution is what keeps us alive. We keep that alive.
I agree.
The United States alive. Everything.
It's the most unique document in history.
That's it.
It was created by people who had, correct. And, when you think about the mindsets of the individuals who created it, I mean, the way I describe the federal government is like a seized engine, right? It is designed to move exceedingly slowly for a very specific reason, because if it does move fast, whoever's in power in a given period of time is going to have enough power to make sure they stay in power. It's really that simple. And so, the people who crafted our Constitution really understood the threats that existed then and what they were able to project, what could potentially happen in the future, especially as power structures change and things of that nature. So it really is one of the most brilliant documents, if not the most brilliant document ever created by man.
True.
To your point, it's the foundation of our country. Okay. Harry, listen, this has been fantastic. We're up against time. I'm so glad that you and I got a chance to chat again. I am going to do everything in my power to go with Tim to meet your tailor, because that just sounds like one of those absolutely awesome experiences that's kind of once in a lifetime.
Yeah, I'm going to also spoil the boys as well. So we're going to actually have a great thing. So there will be no wives around. But before I let you go, I want to tell you about the difference of passports that I was telling you. Do you know what color of passport the Chinese have?
I thought it was red, but I'm probably wrong.
No, actually, you're right. It's red. So what's next? No. It's burgundy. I'm showing you this because I want to show your viewers that if you go from blue to burgundy, closing it to red. I mean, when Britain became a European Union, they went from blue passports to burgundy. And finally, now that they are all by themselves, they turned their passports back to the blue original cover like they used to be. So I just want to tell your audience, remember, passports actually, every time you see a passport, it plays a role. So every time you see a burgundy passport,
weird, though.
It's a socialist passport. If you see a red passport, it's a communist passport. And if you see a blue passport, it's a republic passport.
And that's like an official thing. Like they
Yes.
design it can't be pure happenstance that it just happens to line like
No,
that.
it's actually the only countries, actually, the Islamic countries actually have green passports.
Yeah,
So
that's
if you
right.
see Pakistan, if you see Iran, they have green passports. So everything is a green on that side of the world. But in the Western civilization, all the way through China, if you actually grab it like this, you'll see that the blue passport, it's a Republican passport. The red passport is communist, and the burgundy is socialism. Anyway,
Unbelievable.
I just wanted to show you.
Well, hopefully we won't be seeing red or burgundy passports in the United States anytime soon. I mean, I'll put it this way. Mine's blue and it doesn't expire for like 9 more years. So at the very least, but I want to be a little bit optimistic. You know what I mean? I want to believe that our power structure is strong enough to prevent some of these seemingly great ideas like, fairness and equality. I mean, those are great things conceptually, but when you start extracting resources, one of the things that I say relatively frequently is the government doesn't create anything. It extracts and redistributes at the will of the people, right? So as long as the will of the people is kind of aligned there, right? All the people, not just the ones that are in need, but the people that create and produce and receive the things that they are due from society, as long as we allow them to continue to be motivated by whatever motivates them, we should be in good shape. But okay, Harry, this was fantastic. I really appreciate your time this afternoon. I'll have this up here in the next, 25, 30 minutes. So it's good talking to you.
Thank you, Doug.